crooked Hillary Clinton and the DNC, the insurance policy just in case Hillary Clinton lost. Remember during one of the debates when crooked Hillary said the free pass they gave to Hillary and her aides, Hillary used the word deplorables. Hillary Clinton made a big mistake with that speech.
Okay, lean in. Shh. Don't tell Trump. But it's been 953 days since Hillary Clinton was a presidential candidate. Believe it or not, she's actually not running in 2020. That didn't stop Trump, though, from mentioning her name more than a half a dozen times before acknowledging a single Democrat who is actually running in 2020. That's last night's rally in a nutshell for you. No new announcements, no shift in rhetoric. It was more a look back than a look forward. And at times, it was hard to remember what year it is.
Drain the swamp. Drain the swamp. But the system's rigged. Oh, the system is rigged. Crooked Hillary Clinton. Crooked Hillary Clinton. Crookery. Beating crooked Hillary Clinton.
Last night's rally in Orlando was Trump's 60th campaign-style arena event since taking office, his 7th in Florida, where he's behind in the polls, and the second one he's done in that city. And it was nearly indiscernible from any of the ones that came before it. As the New York Times puts it, quote, by the end of Trump's 76-minute speech, there were patches of blue seats visible across the arena. Some supporters had left the rally early, maybe because they'd seen it before. Joining the conversation just back from Orlando, White House Bureau Chief for the Washington Post, Phil Rucker, with us on set, Senior Advisor to MoveOn.org, Karine Jean-Pierre. Phil Rucker, what'd you see?
Well, Nicole, it felt like deja vu for those of us who covered the 2016 campaign because it was the same sort of populist message, the same grievances, the same lines even, the same call and response moments with the crowd, and probably a lot of the same voters, the same logo. It was just 2016 all over again, and this was his kickoff for his re-election, but it was so much a reminder that the campaign never ended. It's been a nonstop 4-year political campaign for Donald Trump, and I think will continue that way until Election Day in 2020.
Karine, for a guy who reads his own reviews, like a restaurant the morning after their opening, here was one from New York Magazine. Obviously, in talking about everything he talks about, Trump got most of it wrong in one way or another, intentionally or accidentally, or whatever the word would be for doing something accidentally but not caring about the accident. He lied, exaggerated, and misinterpreted. He spoke in that particularly bountiful, hyper-specific, yet somehow general and meaningless style in which he speaks. My question isn't whether or not that, I think that's one of the best descriptions I've ever read of Trump, but how do you combat that?
That's a really good question, because when I watched it last night, I did not want to, but I did, and it was really just vile.
It's like that run you don't want to go on.
Yeah,
I watched it
exactly.
too.
And then it was hard to go to sleep because after what you just watched, it was full of hate, and he was wronged, and it was really a reminder of 2016, as others have said. But it also is basically laid out how awful it's going to be in 2020. It was 2016 times 10, and that's the fear, and that's the ugliness that you saw there. And I would say in 2016, and many people have said this, I'm not the first to say this, is that he didn't know he was going to win. It was just kind of like he was just doing this. It was fun. There was really nothing attached to it. He was just out there. This time around, he's a desperate man. He needs to get reelected. And when you have a desperate man, a desperate person, it is going to be a wild, disgusting, ugly ride, because he knows if he does not get it reelected, he could be indicted, he could be arrested. There's so much more at stake for him, and that is what you saw last night.
Can I just say, I think we in the media also need to kind of re-examine using the word populist at this point, just because in 2016 there were arguably some policies that he put out there that were populist, such as a grand infrastructure plan. He talked about the forgotten man. These things have not materialized. And when you boil it down to its essence, which is what we're now seeing, it's really not about populism.
It was faux populism.
It's faux, yeah. And so, even the wall, he can't say he did that. He can't even say build the wall anymore. He can't talk about the forgotten man, because then we're going to go interview the farmers who are, in destitute straits. We're going to go talk to the coal miners. And by the way, there are fewer coal mine workers today than there were under Obama. So it just doesn't work. And I think think we're all kind of reflexively going back to using that label to describe this. This is why Joe Biden and other Democrats are saying that this is a test of us as a nation, because if he wins again, it really isn't about populism. It's about something else.
It's about resentment and how well he can get people to respond to, I'm a victim and you're a victim. We're all victims. And by the way, we've got to screw the people who are hurting us. It's all about resentment.
Us against them.
Right. It's us against them.
Other.
And what they're going to try to do, and I know that as somebody who has a deep respect and somebody who works every day with a large group of people that are, not in boardrooms, this is about growing his base. What their campaign is doing, Nicole, is they are not counting on getting the Obama-Trump voter back.
Right.
They are counting on growing the Trump voters, finding more of those people that have never registered to vote, more of those people who are just as angry and just as resentful as the people in that arena last night. And that's their strategy, is to grow. Now, that's why it's so important that our Democratic primary doesn't get into a mud bath, because we've got to keep everybody united and keep them enthusiastic about turning out, because this is going to be a battle of turnout between those who are resentful and those who want to go back to something aspirational.
Speaking to campaign officials ahead of this rally, that's exactly what they're trying to do. They're trying to turn out more Trump voters. They understand there's not going to be that many they can persuade from the other side. Maybe a few who like the way the economy's going, but otherwise it's going to be about finding more people who didn't turn out last time, who haven't voted in decades,
or never voted,
or have never voted, or aren't going to be picked up by any sort of pollster, which is, again, they feel like was what happened last time around too, and that who are going to identify with the message of anger and grievance. And that's what the campaign's trying to push. We saw it last night, too. Even though he's the incumbent and is going to use the trappings of the presidency when he can, they're going to run him as an outsider. They still feel like that he is sort of the bomb-throwing rebel, and he's running up against career politicians, whether currently in Congress, whether it's Pelosi or Schumer, or maybe a Joe Biden in the general election, that he still has that role, and that people identify with him. He speaks for that anger. Now, whether that's going to be an effective tactic or not remains to be seen. Certainly, there were no new ideas last night. It was a greatest hits type of rally, but they feel like that is still their best approach. And as a final thing, that rally last night was simply devastating for Hillary Clinton's 2020 chances.
She's done. I think she's okay with that.
Phil Rucker.
I think she's fine with it.
I'm sure. Let me show you one thing that has changed. Marco Rubio and Lindsey Graham swinging their hips and clapping along at a MAGA rally.
Yeah.
It's Rubio.
He's always calling me Little Marco. And I'll admit, the guy, he's taller than me. He's like 6'2", which is why I don't understand why his hands are the size of someone who's 5'2". Have you seen his hands? He says that I'm sweating all the time. It's hot in here. Am I sweating now? No. All right. He doesn't sweat. He doesn't sweat because his pores are clogged from the spray tan that he uses.
This guy, Lindsey Graham, you have a guy, he's one of the dumbest human beings I've ever seen. I think Lindsey Graham is a disgrace, and I think you have one of the worst representatives of any representative in the United States.
Stay in the race, just stop being a jackass. You don't have to run for president and be the world's biggest jackass.
And he gave me his number, and I found the card. I wrote the number down. I don't know if it's the right number. Let's try it.
You know how you make America great again? Tell Donald Trump to go to hell.
And there they are, smiling, nodding. I didn't know you could say jackass on TV, but that was network TV, so I guess it's okay. Phil Rucker.
Yeah, Nicole, it was quite a sight last night to see Lindsey Graham and Marco Rubio there in the VIP section getting a shout out from President Trump, clapping and along for the ride. And in a sense, they're opportunists, but they're also survivalists. I mean, these two senators have made a calculation that there is not a place for them in the Republican Party of today unless they're going to get on board the Trump train. And so that's what they've done. They've seen some of their former colleagues who've stood up to Trump and challenged him, Bob Corker, Jeff Flake. They are now former colleagues. They're not in the Senate anymore. And, I don't know what it says about their futures in the party, Graham and Rubio, how they would sort of manage this after the Trump era is over, but right now they're fully on board.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.